Hey everyone, I wanted to make a quick video and show you how to go about doing Stripe and creating a checkout page from Stripe. So to do that, we have to first set up a few things to get everything going. First thing we need is in the custom header and footer, we need to put in the Stripe script. Let me just copy that over. Okay, we'll need this later on, and the next thing we need is to have a pipe, the Stripe pipe. So I'm going to install the Stripe pipe. One of the pipes API calls we have here is called create a checkout session, and essentially what that does is that it creates a unique session in Stripe that we could then use to direct our users to whenever they want to pay. And here we need to, in the request, we have to pass several items, and one of those items here is line items. This is the actual product. So before you do anything here, you need to get started in Stripe. You have to go to your products. Here we're going to work with two products. We have the iPhone and the MacBook Pro. So if you go into any of your products, you'll have your pricing. This price ID is what you need to use. So I'm going to copy this, and then we'll do a test here for a second. So we'll say the success URL is going to be where, after someone submits payment successfully, where it should guide them to. And we'll just do this for now. The item price is that price ID that we copied over. And then payment method types, I think you could do different method types like Google Pay, credit card, ACH, or whatever. And then quantity is 1, mode is, this is going to be a payment. If we do a test here, oh, I forgot to provide an API key. So we just got to go to global parameters and stick in your API key. I'm going to pause this for a second and do that. Okay, so I added my API key, so now if I do another test, got it. All these parameters again, and I'm actually going to save these parameters so I don't have to do this every time. Payment method type is card, item price, quantity is 1, and method and mode is payments. And then when you do a test, if it works successfully, you'll get here the ID, and this is going to be the ID that we're going to use to guide our users to make that payment. So this is how that checkout session is going to work. Now to get it all working, we have to have all our products over here, so we're going to have these products we're going to work with, but to make it easier, not have to come back and forth to Stripe, we'll do this inside a database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new table, and we'll call this table products, and we'll have here name and pricing ID. And we'll just put in that same information here. So name will be MacBook. This is just for our own reference. And here in the MacBook, I'm going to go and get that price ID. And here we'll do iPhone. If only this cost for these items were that cheap. I did a MacBook already. iPhone. And we'll copy that price ID. So ideally what we want to happen is somebody chooses a customer, and then they choose the product, and then they could pay for that product. So we'll also need another table called customers, and we'll add here name and email. Just for the sake of making this simple, I'm going to add myself as a new customer. And the final table we need to manage all this is orders, and we'll put in order name, and we'll do a date field. And then we also need to make connections from the order to the product and to the customers. So I'll do that right now. Customers and to the orders. And what we'll do is we'll have a form that they choose the customer, the order, and the name, and we'll populate the date. And we also need the order to be associated with an ID from the Stripe checkout. So we'll create here checkout ID. Okay, so now let's create this workflow here. So we're going to create a new page. And we can remove the date field. We'll save the name just for testing purposes, and basically we'll select a customer, an order, and we don't need to show the checkout ID. Ideally what we want to happen is pass all this information into Stripe get back the checkout ID so we could use that in the next step. So we'll do a new record rule, and we'll say update this record, and we'll set the date and time to the current date and time, and we'll set the I actually forgot, I think I forgot one more thing. Inside of this table, the orders table, we also need the pricing ID from this table. So what I'll do is I'll add a new pricing ID. Okay, so we need to save the pricing ID from the connected value of whatever product was chosen. So what am I doing wrong here? Let me see. Orders connects the customer. Oh, I made a mistake here. This is supposed to be connecting to products. Right, so each order you get to choose a product and you get to choose a customer. That's my bad. Alright, let's try that again. So now in form rules, record rules, we're going to set the pricing ID to the connected value of the product that was chosen. Now it looks like it still didn't rename it, it's still under orders, but this is correct. So we'll first pull that value from the pricing ID from the product that's chosen. Next, we'll create a new rule with a pipe though this time, and we'll say here create a checkout session. And for the parameters, we're going to say the item price is going to be the record value of pricing ID. And for quantity, we'll say a custom value of 1. You can obviously do this dynamically also. And here for here we need the checkout ID to the pipe value of whatever Stripe returns is the checkout session ID. Right? So we're first getting the value of the product ID, saving it to this record. Then we can go to Stripe and generate a checkout session and save that checkout session ID right into this table. So if we save that and let's preview it, let's give this a shot. Say test 1, customers Mo, and we'll do MacBook. Let's see if it generated the order. You can see checkout ID is blank. Again, I'm probably doing something wrong here. Let me just take a look. Okay, I need to fill all this in with defaults, or I have to set it inside the form. I think this is what I'm doing wrong. We're about to find out. Let's give that another shot. Let's do customers Mo. Let's do iPhone. That took a drop longer, so I have a better feeling about it. There we go. So it did generate that checkout ID. And this is the ID we're going to have to use to now do the next step. So let's say the next step should be that it goes to another page, and then it now takes them to Stripe to make a payment for this checkout. So here's how we go about that. I think one of the simplest ways, there's several ways to do this. I'm going to try to do this the simpler way. So I'm going to add a new page called orders, and we'll put in a table there with the orders, and we'll add a details link to view more details about this order. And let's just preview this for a second. So we should see this order right here. When we go to the details page, we want it to now take us directly to Stripe to make a payment for this order. So what we'll do is we'll do some JavaScript that will pull this checkout ID and send that to Stripe to make the payment. And ideally, we don't need any of these other fields, because what's going to happen is the second it hits this page, we'll guide them to Stripe. And we have to do that because we need the JavaScript from Stripe to be able to do all this. So it has to originate on the app side, not server side. That's why we have to do it from here. So what I'll do is in here in the order details, we'll add some JavaScript, and first we need to find, let me just clean this up a little bit. We don't need to show all these details. Let me remove everything and we'll just add the checkout ID. That's all we need to see here. And now that we have that, we need to get to be able to target this so we could target it from within JavaScript. So I'm going to go into here, copy JavaScript path, and then we'll go back into the JavaScript. Let's just save that for a second. So I'm going to just paste in some of my script here that I use whenever we need to do JavaScript. And basically what we're going to say is, we're going to check if this ID is present. So let's copy that ID. So we're going to basically check if this loaded, then do something. We're going to say, so if this ID is there and it's not undefined, then we want to do something. So what do we want to do? We want to use the Stripe JavaScript API to direct them to checkout. So it's basically we just need to create a new Stripe session. Let me just write this code here. I'll pause it for a second, quickly write the code, and I'll paste this code in the community too. Okay, so here we go. So we just have, we're getting the session ID, and we're just getting that session ID directly from right here. And once we know we get the value of its HTML, we create a new Stripe instance, and then we say, tell Stripe, hey, direct us to the checkout so we could pay for this checkout ID, which is this one right here. So, and then we run that flag, we run that check to see if it's if it works. So let's save this and let's refresh. If this works correctly, it should take us to Stripe. And now we can make that payment for whatever this is. So that's pretty much the gist of it, and you can customize this and choose what it gets shown. You could even pass the information from the for email and name and pre-fill that information in. And this is one example. Now another thing you mentioned is you want to be able to do this and then send somebody an email with this information. So we could do that also, and it's a little bit trickier, and I'll show you how to do it. It's actually pretty straightforward. The only thing to keep in mind is doing it this way, you cannot use this link after 24 hours. So this link right here will expire after 24 hours. And this link actually won't work if you go to it directly. It has to be, you have to come to it from the app which has the publishable key that you get from Stripe. Now if we want to send an email to somebody to pay for this transaction, we can also do that. We can do all that in the orders form. So what we'll do is we'll go to the new order, and here we'll create an email. So we'll say add a new email, a custom email. We'll send this to the field of customer's email. So whenever we choose the customer, it'll connect it to that email that's in that field. We'll say from app, from email is app@database.io, and please pay. Now what we want to give them is a link to be able to go directly to that details page, and we need to retrieve that link. So if I go to this page right here, and you can see every time you create an order, it creates a new checkout ID and a details page. So we want this details page to be unique to whatever link, the new record we're creating. I'm going to copy this link address and go back into this form, and we'll direct them to the new details page for that record. So we'll say insert a link. The URL should be here, but instead of this ID, it should be the new ID, which is you basically put it in the brackets and 2 exclamation points by each by inside of it. And you could change this. Click here to pay, and maybe we should add a note. Link expires. So now every time somebody makes a purchase, it will send them an email where they can pay. So let's give that a shot. Come back to this new order form. I think I accidentally added before a rule here. Submit rules. Let's say new order, test, Mo, and iPhone. Let's check my email. And you could see I did get that email, so now I should be able to click on this. It'll take me to database, and then hopefully right away take me to pay this at Stripe. So I hope that sheds some light on how to go about this. Sorry if the video is a little rough and long, just wanted to put this out there instead of writing it all out. Anyways, good luck.